Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another round of IRC Tier 1. This is season 8 now of IRC's F1 League, and we are watching the Fast Boys tonight, Sunday evening, just before the F1 race kicks on in real life. We get a little bit of a taster in the form of some sim racing as well. We are heading down to Mexico this time around for round 7 of the championship. It's really heating up in the championship this season. A lot of drivers right up there on pace, and it proves to be a very interesting spectacle on paper. My name is Eitzel, and joining me here in the commentary box is Thermo. How are you doing?
Hello everyone. Excited to be here. I just had a race in this track earlier today. Wouldn't like to talk too much about that, but I'm looking forward to the Premier League in our server, and let's see how they perform today.
Sure, we'll have enough opportunities to talk about the other races we've had this weekend. But before that, let's quickly head into a short look of the Mexico circuit. So 4.3 kilometers, 17 turns. That's sector 3 that proves to be really annoying for everyone. Although sector 1 and 2 can cause a lot of problems as well. Track limit's going to be a very important thing here. We're going to be seeing people picking up 3 seconds almost as a minimum. That long back straight is going to be the best opportunity for people to pick up and overtake here. Let's have a look at a hot lap.
Alright then, hola amigos and welcome to Autodrama, Hermanos Rodriguez. Now heading to turn 1, you want to be, we're going to be heading in for quite a long time as it's one of the longest straights on the calendar. Make sure you watch out for the DRS board on the left, open it for those extra Ks you will need for overtaking on this track. Now for turn 1, you want to brake just before the 100-meter board, compromise the exit of 1 and 2 to get the right line for 3 and slingshot the car onto the second straight. Make sure you open the DRS again, and for turn 4, you want to stick the car to the right hand side, braking just before the 100-meter board. Compromise the exit of 4 to get the right line for 5. Make sure you're extremely careful on throttle as it's all very low speed. The double apex of 6 and 7 is also very tricky as the car does get very loose in the rear. For 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you want to be gliding from apex to apex. Make sure you keep the minimum speed high up and mount those curves as aggressively as possible as they aren't very serrated. Now for turn 12, you want to brake just after the curb starts on the left, using all the curb on the exit as well. For the hairpin, braking after just before the black box on the right. Make sure you compromise the exit of the hairpin to get a great flow through this remaining part of the sector. Stick to the right hand side to minimize the distance traveled to the line, and that completes the lap of Mexico City. Thank you.
All right, we're back. That was a great hot lap there. Shows us what the Tier 1 boys have to aim for today in terms of times. I'm sure Thermo and Dan can shed a little bit of light about what to keep in mind when going around Mexico. Because fortunately, I wasn't here for the league race this weekend. Been busy, but I'm sure Dan and Thermo can enlighten us on what to keep in mind. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Well, I would like to start off. First off, the easiest part to make a mistake is in the first set of corners, which is turns 1 to 3, where it's very easy to break track limits if you're trying to push hard, especially in quali sessions. Then the most obvious place where you can even end up wrecking your car itself is through the S's. So if you go a little too hard on the throttle while you're mounting those curbs, you could be sent flying into the walls. So we've had a lot of DNFs in the previous races, especially in tiers 2 and 3. So that's another place where the boys have to watch out for. Apart from that, the safety cars which will result from that. So the guys have to keep that in mind when they're planning the strategy.
Great to
Ye-
hear. We should have a very
Yep,
interesting race.
definitely. Agree with SSJ Assassin about the S's. That's where we had 3 DNFs today in tier 3 alone, including mine. And as we go to the quali session and wait for the drivers to go out, just a couple more points. I felt it was very challenging as a midfield tier 3 driver to handle sector 2 because of the constant throttle control you need to do. Maybe the higher tiered boys will show how it's done correctly, but yeah, definitely. Besides this, time management is going to be another key point because here the game suggests you to do a two-stopper, and uh, it's very easy to lose grip and spin out in the second sector if you don't take care of your tires. So definitely, it's another point we have to see in today's race. As we see Black Sheep out in the track going for an out lap.
Interesting to note that Black Sheep, as well as a couple of other drivers, are on the on the medium tires for their first couple of laps on the track. Maybe just getting to grips with the track condition, but also interesting to note how that will work into their strategy because, of course, even though the Q2 rule has been abolished in real life in Formula One, it is still existent in the game. So whatever tire the drivers qualify on, the top 10 will have to start on that respective tire. So starting on the mediums might actually be a huge advantage because the strategy is a two-stop here. If I'm not wrong, I believe the one-stop is an extreme choice, but it is possible. But considering the amount of wear that the tires will go through here, probably the two-stop is the go-to strategy. So starting on the mediums might be hugely beneficial if you can get up there.
Definitely. So, who are the drivers to look out for today, according to you guys?
I would say definitely the three championship contenders right now. All of them are separated by about 9, or I would say about 10 or so points. So SD is currently leading the championship, coming off a strong period for him. He's currently sitting in P4 on the medium tires on his out lap right now. So it will be a chance for SD to open up the gap a little bit if all goes well for him this weekend. There's also a couple who is closely following behind him. He has also had a good start to the season, maybe not so much so at France. He got caught out in the opening part of the race, but managed to claw his way back. So he got P4 in the end, courtesy of some unfortunate fuel management from Moto. And speaking of Moto, he will be the third driver that I would say has a strong chance this weekend. He has come off a period of time away from the game. I believe it's been a couple of days or so. He's also been involved in ACC, so it'll be it's a big change for him, but I'm confident that he can pull something through even under the testing circumstances. Speaking of, yep.
Yeah, sorry, I also thought of saying my favorite for this race. Well, I'm a bit of a Black Sheep fanboy, so I wish I could say that it's him, but he's had a string of bad luck in the past few races, so I just hope that the tables turn for him and he gets a really good finish this time.
Absolutely. Speaking of people with strong finishes, can't help but notice that Mara is back on the grid this time around, filling in for Dwajin, I believe, as a reserve driver. He's in the Ferrari. I'm not surprised by that at all. Envy returns to the grid. I believe he missed out on the France race. Could be wrong there. But Mara returns after a strong P1 finish. I was going to say P2 there, but then I remembered he won that race at France after a long period away from the game. So, I mean, we shouldn't be impressed or surprised by Mara's pace at this point, but he says coming into this race that he's even worse off than he was at France in terms of preparation. So, and he seems to be right up there as he goes on top with a great lap on the soft tires. It's a little bit grainy on my side, so apologies if I'm not able to give you the exact lap time, but he is setting the lap on the soft tires, so he'll be expected to have a bit of a pace advantage, if not 3 seconds faster. But that time will obviously drop down in the course of the session.
Agreed. Good choice for the drivers. All are familiar names in IRC for all our esports leagues. And yeah, it will be interesting to see how Maranello makes a return. He already had a great debut, as you mentioned. Let's see how he manages the pace with the rest of the boys.
Yep, it will be up to him to carry on the pace. Ferrari have had an interesting season in Tier 1. Most of the momentum for the team has been carried by Envy, who's brought out a lot of pace in this first season for him in Tier 1. He's done really well, but Ferrari have been struggling in the last couple of races with results, and Mara will hope to change that and put Ferrari back on top. As Moto goes very, very close to the pit wall there. Will not want to end his qualifying session early, but does do a 1:15. Five seems like, yeah, 5:7 mediums. Uh, that's a great lap from Moto there, putting it in P2. It will be a good starting point for him.
Yeah, it's pretty respectable. It's a bit off the fastest lap, but on mediums, I think it's a good place to start. And definitely he can try a couple more laps before the end of the session without sacrificing much. I'm seeing that there are many other drivers as Black Sheep cuts through the whole sector 3 portion. There are many drivers who are still committed to the mediums, and they have set times which may want to be a bit faster in the 116s, but the front runners and the favorite drivers, they tend to be on mediums right now. So let's see if they stick with this, but I feel like they may switch to softs towards the end of the session.
I think the guys sort of in the midfield will try to want to set a lap on the medium just to get that little bit of an advantage in terms of strategy, at least if not in outright pace. But a big factor around Mexico is the safety car. So anything is possible here, really, in terms of how the race is gonna go. We might see the top 2 or 3 drivers maybe pull away with that with clean air, but it's definitely up for grabs, that podium, and it really could be anyone's game, because I think a lot of guys have been busy over this past week, not much time to put into the game, so it's all up for grabs, and it's all up in the air as to what the final finishing order will be in this race. As Black Sheep just filters through the stadium section here, tight technical section, not very easy in the F1 cars due to the amount of due to the amount of lock that you have to crank in, and right at the last minute decides that he doesn't want to finish that lap and dives into the pits in a rather eccentric manner.
No way. He was on purple. He was doing a second purple sector 2. I'm in shock. As a Black Sheep fan, I'm in shock.
He was quite far up on his delta going through sector 2, but I mean, maybe he was not satisfied with the lap, or maybe he just had a big oversteer moment and just turned it into, I'm just gonna pit. Just played it off really well. I mean, only time will tell.
I think he was under the impression that he wanted to start on the mediums. I don't see any other reason why he would have pulled out of that lap, because he set that time on a set of mediums, that 16.5. Might
Absolutely.
be going for that medium soft.
As we come down now to the last couple of minutes of qualifying, couple of drivers still haven't gone out there. Akash Sonwane in the Red Bull as well, who coming into this race actually has pretty good pace here on the wet tires. So if the rain does come down, which I don't think it will, because the weather forecast earlier showed fully cloudy race, he could come into his own. Harry as well has not set a lap time yet. I think this is his return to the grid after a couple of races away from the game. So it'll be interesting to see where he can put the car on the soft tires. This is his first lap, so we'll get a chance to see where he stands in terms of pace. Ooh, quite an interesting line through the final corner there. But he does stick close to the inside wall, and he goes P2. What a lap from the Alfa Romeo driver. Great lap there. Still a bit of Mara's time, but he'll be really happy with that lap. But more importantly, those other guys have a little bit of catching up to do, because that was a great lap from Harry. As Aradhya moves up to P4.
Yeah, I think everyone is catching up, and I see most of the drivers are switching to softs towards the second half of the session. Yeah, another Alfa Romeo driver, Kapil. We are yet to see him go out on the track. Let's see. I'll be also curious to see how he performs here.
Yep. Kapil is currently P2 in the championship, not that far behind Real SD, but he's got all to do in this race as it currently stands because he's in P15. No, he's in P14. So he still hasn't set a lap. He hasn't even come out yet, I think. So I think he's choosing to just play the usual Kapil manner, which is start from the back. I feel like he could do a lot better if he starts at the front. Maybe he just hasn't put in a lap yet, purely out of curiosity, seeing where everyone stands. But I feel like if Kapil qualifies at the front and really shows off, struts his stuff, then he's a real strong candidate for any race and the championship as well. But he chooses to start at the back all the time. Probably because he gets that free tire choice that allows him to dictate the strategy a lot better.
Given we have 15 on the grid today, starting on the bottom 5 of the grid may still be good for strategy. But if someone can pull it off, I think he's one of the ones who could.
Absolutely, 100%. Just to also note a really, really good lap from the Aston driver in P3 on the medium tires as well. Really, really strong lap, and he's managed to put himself. Actually, I think he may have bolted on a set of mediums just now. I think he may have set the time on soft, so not entirely sure. But great lap regardless, and he currently finds himself in P3, a strong position to start the race.
I just looking at this, I got reminded of an anecdote that I had to share. If you guys don't mind listening to,
Sure.
it was from I actually brought it up during the Tier 3 stream, but I wasn't able to complete it. It was really a technical glitch. So anyway, you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of the enormous advantage, the OP nature of the straights of the circuit. For the first and second DRS straights. So during the Tier 2020 race last season, Ripe and I were teammates, and after I set my hot lap, I was trying to give Ripe the toe for his hot lap. And just through those 2 DRS straights, he managed to gain around 1.5 tenths just in those 2 straights. Yeah, and he went on to set P2 on that quali. But his quali pace wasn't, his race pace wasn't as strong as his quali was, and that was Helium just having a little bit of moment there. But
Big snap there from
but he unfortunately dropped down to the back of the grid. I did go on to win the race by 30 seconds though, so no big deal.
No big deal. But yeah, as you say, the toe is a pretty big factor, especially at tracks where you have those long straight sections. You can just follow a car pretty closely, even from 2 or 3 tenths back. I mean, last season we saw during the Tier 1 race, Evil Dog was Faizan was catching Evil Dog, or rather the other way around. Evil Dog was catching Faizan from 5 or 6 tenths back, and they were almost side by side going into turn 1. So no gap apart from being a second clear is really going to help you out here. And that massive mammoth straight, which also has a very fast exit onto it as well, so you're doing crazy speed by the time you get to the end of it. So it's all to play for, really. The toe is massive, so if you can work out with your teammate, and there's a lot of potential.
Yes, indeed, and it's not just it's not just a single Helium, he's in a hurry to get back to the pits. So yeah, another factor about these straights is that the first and second DRS zones have a single detection zone, which means that if a guy who's behind, if he gets through the first DRS zone ahead of the guy in front, he gets DRS for the second zone as well. So to further that advantage that he gained from the first DRS zone. So that will be a crucial part in overtaking in this track.
I couldn't help but chuckle just while you were talking there. I couldn't help but chuckle that Helium was cutting absolutely every corner, and someone actually allowed him through. thinking that he was on a push lap and catching up to them at quite a rapid pace. Someone actually let him through. I think it was one of the harsh drivers. So crazy, crazy. I just found that a little bit funny. I was laughing and chuckling to myself. But while they were talking, Moto managed to put his horse on pole. So he is clearly not lacking any pace today. A 114 from the harsh driver. Really trying to impose himself on this race. And I find it more impressive the fact that he was practicing just half an hour before the race. He was quite far off the pace, and now he's put it on pole position. I don't know if that says more about the pace of the rest of the drivers or the fact that he's adapted so quickly to the track.
I don't know about how much practice he put in. Oh, sorry to cut you off there. I just wanted to highlight that his time trial time is the fastest in IRC as far as I've seen. So he's definitely had put in a lot of practice into this race.
Definitely. I'm not sure if he retired on track, but I think Moto is happy with the time.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
and just to add to the previous point about the first two DRS straights and how that affects overtaking, I feel like even in DRS trains, if you are the one on the back, it almost becomes a desperation if you can't catch up in the other two sectors to just burn through ERS, do everything just to stay on the train, because it really adds up, especially in the first two sectors. And given that how hard it is to also regenerate ERS here, because even when you're not using overtake, it actually goes through the battery in the straights. It really adds to the dynamic of this track. But I believe the best drivers will extract most of their time through the third sector as we end through the qualifying session, and that's where the real gains are. But even following the cars in the dirty air can also be a challenge. So definitely here it's a surprisingly technical track despite having literally two of the longest straights in the F1 calendar. Yeah, let's see how that happens, that works out in the race as we are going through the last few laps. And I think Maranello has gone out trying to best Moto. I think it's his second hot lap this session.
Yep. He is currently up on his personal time in Sector 1 and down on his personal time in Sector 2. So he has a lot of time to make up in this final sector. He'll have to be really good. And I think he's invalidated somewhere.
Yeah, he's invalidated his lap.
So he'll have to settle for the front row but still behind. Unless the McLaren can change that.
Akash Sonawane, having not set a lap time throughout quali, comes through the final corner. Where will he be able to put that Red Bull? He puts it up into the top 10. And guess what? Wilster will be happy with that, who was sitting in P10, but now he's out of the top 10 on the medium tires. So he might be able to do something on that reverse strategy. Couple absolutely flying in both sectors. Finds himself purple. Will he come across the line to take pole position?
It's a strange case for Kapil. I think that was just personal best in the UI, and I don't see that he already had the checkered flag, so perhaps it's the AI still going around.
Why?
Well, if anything, Kapil's AI is purple in all three sectors, so pretty good AI.
I think that purple means personal best. That's what I'm assuming. Unless we have cranked up the AI to a secret level.
130.
I switched to him because he was the game said that he was still on a hot lap, and the checkered flag wasn't there next to his names. I'm not sure why that his lap wasn't counted. Might have been a miscalculation from mine.
Maybe potentially, but qualifying does come to an end, and Moto clinches pole position. Will start the race on the front row alongside Manelo Baby. Oh wow, was there a driver who joined right at the end there? It seemed like it was, but I think that was an AI driver or something. But Moto qualifies on pole position with a 1:14.7. Brilliant lap there from the Haas driver. Mara rounds out the front row. Aradhya Gupta as well. Great performance from the McLaren driver. Real SD, Envy, Harry, Ashray, Banat, Akash, and Helium round off the top 10. Wilster, Dawn, Black Sheep Simply, and Couple round off the top 15. And yes, Dawn joined right at the end. So it'll be interesting to see how he factors into the race. Those are all your incidents for quali, and we have a strong race on our hands, boys, and an interesting grid as well, because ST starts P4, so we might see him contest for that podium places with Aradhya very early on in the stint. He'll want to try to get up to Mara and Moto as soon as possible. Same goes for Couple as well, who'll, in the usual Couple manner, try to gain as many positions as he can on the opening lap. So, yeah, this race start is going to be very crucial, and I look forward to it. Just waiting for the drivers to load up into the session. We will have a formation lap followed by a 50% race. So I think that's 36 laps around Mexico. So strategy is up to interpretation here. It's where you want, or what part of the race you want to be quickest. So it definitely a safe strategy is the two stop, but we have seen drivers trying out the one stop as well, and obviously a safety car will obviously mix things up to that extent as well. So we might see the three stop coming out as well. It's all to play for in terms of strategy. You can go for the mediums at the beginning and medium soft soft, or you can go for soft medium soft, which is a pretty common strategy in two stop races. Thermo, any thoughts?
Yeah, I personally was going for medium soft softs, but that was a bit optimistic considering I had an incident in the first lap. But yes, I think soft medium softs would be the safest bet, especially if you believe in your pace. But yes, I've seen that some drivers managed to put on hards, which I personally don't recommend in this track. But they managed a one stopper in that. As you see, the drivers starting out the formation lap.
I was gonna say Moto got a great start there, but it was just a formation lap.
And just to point out, Black Sheep is on hards, which is a curious case. Let's see what he has in mind. I think he's definitely going for that one stop. As we see the predictive strategy, the game also suggests you go for two stops. Surprisingly, for me, it wasn't suggesting hards, but here for Moto, I think, given his current tires, that was the best strategy. I also noticed the bottom five, they set their laps on mediums, at least 2 or 3 of them, as we had a slight scare with Moto and Mara. I noticed that those drivers set their fastest laps on mediums. Are they saving tires for the double stint, or what may be in their mind, according to you guys?
Not entirely sure what they're planning, but it'll be curious to see why they're saving that extra set. I think everyone is expecting a safety, or those guys must be at least expecting a safety car, but only time will tell, because this is tier 1, and I'm going to touch wood here and say that we have not had a safety car thus far in the season in tier 1. So they'll be hoping to keep that run going into Mexico as well. But this is a track where we have a lot of high-speed direction changes. If you're on worn tires and you just take a bit too much curb or give it a bit too much throttle, you end up losing the rear end, and then you're heading at very high speed towards a barrier. So safety cars are common around here in lower tiers. We saw a lot of them, a lot of DNFs as well. I don't think I need to tell both of you guys, because you have been involved in those races and you would have known. But tier 1 will hopefully be a breath of fresh air. We'll see some good racing and everyone on track and finishing the race as well. Drivers all lining up into their grid spots, just about getting ready to go green here. Everyone loads in, seems to be fine. Everything's working well. 5 lights. And away we go. We are lights green in Mexico. A Ferrari in the background got a brilliant start there. That was Envy already challenging Aradhya Gupta going into turn 1. Moto seems to be uncontested going. It's 5 wide. everyone jostling for space on track as Mara dives down the inside going into turn one. Everyone still very, very nervous for space right now. Moto being pushed a little bit wide, but has to concede that P1 immediately as Mara puts himself into the prime position to control the pace of the pack right now as Moto tries to spook Mara going round the outside potentially, but he keeps his head cool. The five-time champion strutting his stuff right now, getting very, very eager into turn one, and it paid off for the driver, for the Ferrari driver as well. Envy as well has made a great start, moving up from, I believe, P5 into P3. So he's jumped Aradhya Gupta, who himself has dropped down to P7. So great start for Envy as well. SD remains stationary, hasn't really changed much in terms of position. I think he was boxed in a bit by Envy, who had gotten an absolutely mega start. Aradhya Gupta has lost out quite a bit in this opening period, 5 positions down, and has a lot of work to do going into the first stint. He has to really push those soft tires if he's going to get up to where he was before. Mara leading the pace, leading the pack, 121 fastest lap of the session so far, although it is a long race ahead. Seeing who else has gained a lot. Kapil, as always, the man on a mission. 8 positions gained in lap 1. How does he manage to do it? None of us will know. But he is there up into the top 10 now in P7, right behind his teammates. So maybe a little bit of team orders will come into play here if Couples got more pace. But wow, what a hectic starting phase we had there. And this yellow flag, and it seems like Black Sheep has lost the car coming out of turn 3.
No way. No!
Yes.
Oh god, that no. Why
And
do
he's
you do
lost it
this?
there again.
Why do you do this to me, Black Sheep?
Fortunately for you, he doesn't seem to have any damage on the car, so still salvageable, but definitely not the start he's looking for.
If anything, hope, Dan, that that 2 spins have warmed up those hard tires, because that is the problem that Black Sheep will be dealing with for those first couple of laps, because those hard tires are very hard, no pun intended, but they are very hard to get into the optimum working window. So he'll be hoping to get those temperatures up as soon as possible, but he is quite far back now, at least 2 sectors back from the rest of the pack. So work to do here for Black Sheep as he hopes to get himself back up into the clutches of the top 10. A lot of time. It's a long race, and a safety car might come to his help a little later on, as both Aston Martins getting very, very eager going into turn 1. They were side by side, showing each other the appropriate amount of respect. Ashray, who's gotten off to a blinder in this race. Great moves in those. He put in a great lap in qualifying as well, and now he's contesting with his teammate. Helium, I believe, started outside the top 10, so he had the free tires choice available to him, so he starts on the medium. Might be mistaken there, but he is on the mediums currently, and the advantage is showing. Although this is a little too soon for the softs to drop off. We expect them to last at least 11 or so laps. Of course, if you're going for the one stop, you have to take the softs to 14 laps. So yeah, it's interesting to see that Helium is just muscling his way past people quite early on, because the softs are still very much within the window.
Has opened up a slight window for Akash, as he will benefit from the DRS soon, as the DRS is now enabled. And I'm not sure why among the teammates,
I believe Moto
Ashray,
is making a move for the lead. Sorry to cut you off there, but Moto just made a move for the lead there. We saw the delta coming down. Not sure if DRS was acting there, but Moto has moved into P1, pushing Mara down into P2. It's a Ferrari 2-3 right now. Sorry to cut you off, Thermo. Carry on.
it's fine. Actually, the front two were already outside of the DRS range from the rest of the grid. So this was a very opportunistic move from Moto to take that overtake. But I was just mentioning that it was weird for the 2 Aston Martin drivers to not prioritize the soft runner to give it a go first. But I see that Ashray is back up in the front. Maybe he has the pace for at least the first leg of this race. Let's see how that continues.
Absolutely, I agree with you. All the Xbox boys will be watching the race, cheering on for Ashray, who's had a difficult bedding in period coming to PC from Xbox, but he's made the transition quite quickly. Took him a race or two to get used to the difference in physics, and yes, there is a difference in physics between the Xbox and the PC versions of F1 2021, but he's caught on quite quickly, and now he's on the pace of the midfield guys. So hopefully he can get himself accustomed so he can fight up there with the front runners. Speaking of the front runners, Mara uses the DRS, didn't have to do much there, but gets past Moto, and that's going to be a recurring theme as both these guys fight for DRS continuously throughout the race. Dan, if we can just bring up the driver telemetry if you can. Thank you very much. 43%
Speaking,
DRS.
SD has made a move on Envy. I think he has benefited from the DRS rate as well, but Envy is not happy with that, and right before the next DRS zone, he has been fighting back. So very good racing. Both have kept it fairly clean through those challenging corners, but I think SD may have, at least for now, gained the podium position. But I think we will see the same as the front two in the next lap as we go back to the DRS straight fight. Yeah, that's the key thing about this track. What you do in the rest of the track while you manage these two DRS straights.
Yeah, as long as you remain within a second on the DRS straights, you're pretty much set for the rest of the lap anyway.
Possible SD may have made the move thick this time because Envy really had to work hard to catch up to him despite having DRS.
But he'll have another DRS straight coming up now to close that gap a little bit more. He was dumping ERS all the way down the main straight in order to get a little bit closer to SD. But now he'll have DRS and ERS, and Envy is looking very, very racy right now as he looks to make a move up the inside. Had a brief look, but chose not to go for it. Some patience there from the Ferrari driver might pay off in the long run, as a couple of drivers in the background there were just getting a little bit too close for comfort there. All kinds of wiggliness happening. I think that was Banat and Kapil. As Kapil moves up into P5, has made his way past Aradhya Gupta and his own teammate Harry Rocks, who are sitting in P7 and P8 respectively, and has made his way past Banat in the Haas as well. Some really good racing, and Kapil seems to be right on the pace as Harry picks up another 3-second time penalty, which brings him up to 6 seconds for track limits alone. And Kapil is looking very fast in this opening period. Maybe he was purple in both sectors and just chose to lift off. You never know, Dan. I mean, we were thinking it was AI, but it could be actually might actually be on the pace, and he might actually be in the process of hunting those guys front down. And because they've gotten very comfortable with wheel banging in the early parts of the race, there is a chance for them to, as Aradhya Gupta looks to make a move up the inside of Harry Rocks, was weaving like mad to bring back an Evil Dog quote from a couple of seasons ago. He was weaving like, what is this tailor shop?
A weaving factory, spinning mill.
Textile shop.
Textile shop, yes.
Shop. Yes. We miss you, Evil Dog. Please return to the F1 grid as Aradhya makes it very, very late down the inside. But luckily, no contact between them. That was very late from the McLaren driver.
So he may have
Musical
flat spot on his
chairs.
tires.
Hopefully not. As we were talking, we had shuffling going on in the first 4 positions as Moto and NB, I think, had taken back their positions. I think Maranello briefly overtook, but then I think he got overtaken again. So great racing. It's very hard to follow through all the action that is going on, but we seem to have a DRS train now being formed below the podium positions. And
Not surprising.
already Envy has gone for pit. Is that... No, that's not even a drive-through. He has actually gone to change tires. So the flat spot may have really ruined his tires.
That was the flat spot driver was Aradhya Gupta. He's
Oh,
not-
my bad. But I'm not sure what happened with Envy because I didn't see a wing change.
I think if I could lend my opinion, I think he just wants to get out of the traffic right now, just have some clear air. I think squabbling with other drivers won't be helping his tires too much. So maybe just choosing to go for the undercut, maybe that might work out because SD now doesn't have any kind of DRS to work with. Couple will be on the attack soon enough. He's just 2 tenths off the Williams driver right now. We might see them getting and see just at the end of this sector here going into the stadium section. We might see Couple making a move with DRS. We have DRS now. DRS open, and this should be a chance for the Alfa Romeo driver to capitalize. SD covers off the move well, but runs a little bit wide. That will be a track limit warning, potentially doing very well to keep the Alfa Romeo driver behind, but it will be all for nothing as if Couple gets a good exit out of the final corner here, it will pretty much be done down the main straight. But yeah, my only thought process might be that NB would like to have some clear air and not have to worry about fighting other drivers, and he's got that right now. Although he's only about 4 tenths away from Dawn, so he might have to think about making a move on a couple of people, but it won't be quite as complicated as making a move past some of the faster drivers ahead.
I think Bharat has also gone through the same mindset, maybe, as he has also gone for a pit. It seems like a bit too soon for both, but I definitely see your point. Especially in the last two sectors, you would want to have clean air. So let's see what he does with this change. And we see Ashray, who has spun out after the end of second straight rather. Hopefully he has no damage, luckily, but unfortunate for him.
It was only a semi-spin, luckily for Ashray in the Aston Martin, just enough to heat up those tires as we are seeing right now. That is going to be a big factor for him as he resets to track. That hopefully that isn't looked upon in a bad light by the stewards. Resetting to track isn't encouraged by the stewards on this game. It's not the best system, but yeah, he resets to track, and now he'll be trying to make his way into the pit so he can swap out those worn soft tires for a set of mediums. I think all the drivers will be going for that two-stop strategy. It is the one where they get to push the most without having to worry about tire wear, and we saw what happens if you do lose those tires. Interesting to note that Mara and Moto are still staying out. They are still within the soft tires window, so they still have another 2 laps or so before those soft tires really start to drop off. If you do want to make the one-stop work, which Moto can, because he's in clear air right now, but he does have to contend with the pressure of Mellow Baby. He will have to take those soft tires all the way until lap 14 as Mara picks up a 3-second time penalty, which will be good news for Moto. He'll try to stay away from track limits as much as possible because that 3-second advantage will be very, very useful for him.
To him if he can keep it clean in terms of penalties. But looking at ERS at Mara and Hello side, I don't think he has to work too hard to keep up with Moto. So I think he can manage his tires well if he wants to. But it will be interesting to see if Moto may go for the overcut or for one stopper.
I am just surprised as to how Mara still got 70% of ERS at lap 11 of this race.
Actually, he had 100 as he went through the final corner, but then he deployed 30% of it at once.
Yeah, and I noticed
Not
that.
sure how that works.
I don't know. I think he's. I would any other person would call hacks on this, but Mara is doing an amazing job of somehow conserving it.
You can't call hacks on a person who is a cheat code in themselves. That is the logic with Mara.
And true words have never been spoken.
Exactly. I hope you guys will agree with me on that. But I think it's also because Mara just wants to stay in that DRS for as long as possible, because you can see the advantage that it's having. He's pulled out a massive gap, almost 5 seconds to Couple, who now has to contend with Helium behind him. So now is when the medium runners come into their own. So Helium, Wilster, Simply, and the like will be getting into the groove of things right now. I would love to say that Black Sheep has an off chance of getting into the points, but he is quite far behind, and those hard tires will just be starting to get into their window. So you can take them until at least lap 22 or 23. I'd say those hard tires can go that long, and then he'll be looking to mount a final push on soft tires. That's the only way I can see Black Sheep trying to make something of this race. Everyone else is on worn tires, and right as I say that, the commentator's curse kicks in and he gets a 3-second time penalty. Although Aradhya is very, very keen, looking to get an overtake done in corners where he normally wouldn't go for a move. Right through the stadium section, he was getting trying to utilize those track limits as much as possible, but gets the move done on Banat, who pitted for a set of medium tires. Aradhya choosing to pit for a set of soft tires, so he's going for soft medium. So I think he's also hoping for some kind of a safety car. I'm not quite sure how the strategy will work out for Aradhya. He'll be on the slower tire for the latter part of the race. Maybe that might work out well for him. Depends on how he can execute this stint on the soft tires.
Curiously enough, Ashray is still on softs despite having them heated up a lot laps back. I think he may be trying to go for one stop. Let's see. Both Aston Martins are going on a wildly different strategies. May work out for each of them. At least it's working out for Helium for track position at least.
You can see the amount of time that Ashray is losing all those old tires. Aradhya is making up time on him, like he's standing still. It's like a Formula 1 versus a Formula 2 car going through that sector 2 there on worn tires. Banat will be attacking Ashray soon as well. I think there's a recurring inside joke going on within Tier 1 between Ashray and Banat. There's some kind of ongoing rivalry of some sort between them, because they always seem to get involved in some kind of battle. We might see a sequel to that as Banat opens up DRS.
It should be a very easy overtake though.
Although
Ashray
has got DRS as well.
Oh yes, indeed, the train. So I think it was very smart from Aradhya to make the move in Sector 3 and not having to face any of this.
Yeah, two drivers with DRS coming down the back of him, charging him down would not be great, as Envy tries to get a move done around the outside of Simply. That was a great move if he can make it stick. And it seems like he does, though they're still side by side, and yes, that will be the end of the move right there. That was brilliant racing from the Ferrari driver around the outside going into turn 4, I believe. So audacious move, but on the newer tires, he's got that grip advantage over Simply. He's on 12 lap old mediums, but Simply potentially will have the last laugh in that battle. It's not quite over for the AlphaTauri driver, but that was great racing, great respect between the two drivers as well, as Banat is still trying to charge down Ashray, who now will not be within Aradhya Gupta's DRS. So now he won't have that advantage, but something tells me this will be the lap in which Ashray dives into the pits. Will he dive into the pits? No, he doesn't. He chooses to stay out. So yeah, thermo, it does seem like he is going for that one stop, as are front runners in Akash. And oh, while we were talking, Moto and Para have pitted for mediums. I think Dan briefly went on both the two drivers as they came out of the pit lane. But yeah, they're not committing to the one stop, or maybe they committed a little too early, going a little longer on the medium tires. We have time to tell.
Yeah, they did pit a few laps ago. I moved on to their onboards briefly for a second.
I think they both got the pace for it, so I think if one goes for it, the other has to stay on top, I guess. It's a fair dues.
Not good news for you, Dan, as Black Sheep has lost it again coming out of turn 1.
I don't know what to say. Why? Hold on, Ashray just slowed down for Helium to let him pass.
Wow, that was really extreme case of T models there. But those soft tires are really really reaching the end of their life now. They must be at 70-ish% wear. But this must be the lap that Ashray dives into the pits. If he leaves it any later than this, he runs the risk of getting a puncture.
I think he's pushing for a soft medium, a one stop away.
A one stop is 14-ish laps on the soft
16.
and the rest. Oh, 16. You can go 16 laps on the soft.
Yes.
I mean, if he can, considering Ashray has already lost the car twice, maybe those tires surely they must be screaming in agony at this point. That front left especially looks particularly tormented. That S section in Sector 2 and Sector 3 really does test those tires, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, he will be having an extreme amount of understeer. It'll almost be synonymous to driving a tank. He's gonna struggle a lot. He will be losing 2 to 3 seconds of the fastest guys. Only God can help him now.
Well, to be fair,
medium tires. Yeah, Thermo.
to be fair, he's driving at the home circuit of the best tire management driver in the real life grid. So maybe he's inspired. But let's see if he makes it work. As we see Akash going to the pits in a very interesting way, like Black Sheep. So it's his time now to switch tires. Still, I see Ashray, he still does not. So he's going for 15 laps indeed, like you said.
No, he is going.
No,
to
he
pits
actually
now.
has gone to pit finally. Okay, let's see. So I think it's around the same time as the others around him. So it will be curious to see if this will pay off for him after all. Because he has
Right.
dropped down a lot of positions in the process.
So right now, only a couple of battles happening on track. I believe SD is not that far behind Aradhya Gupta, and I believe there was a battle happening behind, but a little bit of a gap has opened up between Banat and Helium, so it's 1.4 seconds separating between the two of them. So the only real battling happening right now is between SD and Aradhya Gupta, and I think even that battle has just ended because SD has dropped out of DRS. And wow, everyone is currently out of DRS, so it's just going to be a matter of who gets to have their say, gets to execute their strategy to perfection.
Oh, no.
Because
Kapil's car has forgotten it's on softs. He's still able to create a sizable gap to the next driver
He's
and
actually,
keeping it clean as well.
he's actually losing time. He was up by 4.3 seconds, but now it's gone down to 3.7, 3.6.
Yeah, I think
This
we
is
are at the
dropping.
tipping point where he will, again, I think he's doing a one-stopper as well, so he will probably go to pits now, but he has still given some wiggle room for the next stint by going long on these softs.
Just give me a second, guys. I'll be right back. Just a small toilet break.
all right,
Well, you
no
have left
issues,
it at a
Dan.
good place in the top 3 battle. Let's see. I think Moto is lining up a move while I think the other 2 drivers will go and pit. So let's see if he waits for that or he just makes a move now.
This will be part 2 of the battle between Moto and Wilster because they had a coming together. Well, not a coming together, they had a battle in France, which was pretty entertaining to watch. So this will be the sequel to that. And let's see how the Haas driver does well within DRS. Much newer tires compared to the McLaren. This would be a pretty mundane, straightforward overtake for the Haas driver as he pulls alongside. That's a great camera angle right there as they pass under the gantry. And yeah, that was a pretty straightforward move for Moto there, and he actually gains about 3/10 on the McLaren as well. And now it will be all about trying to close the gap to Kapil ahead, who seems to have bolted on a set of medium tires that have been painted red because he's done 17 laps on those soft tires, and he's running dangerously close to getting a punches. Surely there's not much in them at this point.
He should not push any longer now. He's losing a considerable amount of time to Moto behind him. Even Wilster matters. So yes, he should pit and
Already 2.5 seconds if I'm not wrong. But
yeah.
maybe he'll go more push on the mediums once he switches to them. But
I'll
very
tell you-
curious case again.
I'll tell you what though, although you just saw the tire life change there because he switched on with Moto. What I will tell you is Kapil, even though he has done 17 laps on those softs, they don't look quite as worn as what some of these other soft runners have been doing as he finally dives into the pits there. That will be for another set, a set of mediums. So he is definitely going for that one-stop strategy at this point. That is the most viable one. Does it make sense to go for the two-stop after you've taken one set of softs to nearly 20 laps of running? Great tire management there by Kapil, but he has work to do. I feel like he's left a little bit too late on those softs and he's lost a lot of time. He should have done it when he had maybe a 4 or 5 second gap. He could have made it last longer on the medium tires, especially if he's really, really good with the tires and tire management. There's definitely possibility there for him to really come alive in those final few laps of the race. But he's really given himself a nice little margin now on those medium tires. He'll be about 4 or 5 laps newer tires compared to the other medium runners, and it'll be a battle between him and the people who've pitted for softs now. I think everyone is going for the one stop. I don't think anybody's really audacious enough to go for the two stop here. Even if they can push every single lap, you'll be losing time in those pit stops. So I think the most straightforward strategy will be the one stop, and that's what everybody's doing.
He surely can't, as he has on 7 laps all stops.
If you ask me, both strategies are quite even. But at the softs on the fresh set of softs on really low fuel loads will be extremely OP in this track. You can be setting quali laps on those sets. So by the end of the race, if you have been able to drive without any incidents, you can definitely make up those positions. Even if you have done it, for the time you've lost it by doing the two stop. So yeah, it's pretty even if you ask me.
Yep, absolutely. Coming now down to the last 16 laps of this race. Definitely all to play for. The grid has been shuffled up quite a bit actually. If you are just joining us, we are just past the first stint. So all the drivers have made their choice in terms of what tires they want to take, how their strategy is going to pan out for the rest of the race. As Thermo mentioned just a little while earlier, Radhya Gupta is on 8-lap-old soft, so is Dawn for that matter. So those two guys are committing to the two-stop surely. So they'll be going on to a set of medium tires around about now is when I'd expect them to do that. But we're seeing the soft tires have again dropped off quite a bit for Aradhya as Helium moves up the inside on not that much newer tires. Although Aradhya has been stuck behind Envy for a couple of laps, in the dirty air. But Helium is all over the back of the McLaren driver right now, who almost feigned a move into the pits, but ended up staying out. As we saw a close-up there of one of the McLaren pit crew, as one of the, I believe that was Wilster, yes, Wilster, who has made a pit stop onto the soft tires. I think that will take him all the way to the end of the race. Yes, it will. As Aradhya Gupta picks up a 3-second time penalty while defending from Helium. Helium just not leaving him or just closing the door on him a bit, and Aradhya has no choice but to put two wheels on the other side of the curb, and that means he will pick up track warning, which gives him 3 seconds. And now Helium is on the attack on Envy. Man is quick to make moves today. Which is crazy actually, because he had quite a bad injury to his foot recently. So he's doing very, very admirably well considering the circumstances.
Yeah, definitely back up to speed, and kind of as two stoppers, you have to kind of go through the grid to have a chance in the final stint. Speaking of strategy, I noticed that Moto has slightly increased his lead from Mara by about a second or so in the last few laps. I think the timing of the driver ahead of him before pitting, I think it was Kapila. Yeah, I think he just gave him a DRS right before he went to pit, so perhaps that may have helped here, but it surely is slightly shrinking now. Let's see how those two manage towards the end. But Helium makes the move on Envy. He kind of needed it, and I think it won't be very wise for Envy to push now. But let's see. I think he's still trying to.
There was a big lockup from Envy there on the inside tire. That will not be helping tire wear. That left front is already screaming for mercy. Grid seems to have settled down a bit now going into the second stint. Everyone's put a little bit of distance between themselves. Akash and Simply are now catching up to the back of Aradhya Gupta. So just about 2 seconds separating those three drivers. So it'll be a good battle there between those three down at the tail end of the grid. Black Sheep still quite far off the rest of the grid. 18 seconds back from Ashray, who is 2 seconds back from Don, who himself is 18 seconds off Akash ahead. So it's going to be difficult for them to get themselves back into the race. A safety car will have to be the saving grace if there is one later on in the race. Moto and Mara have put quite a gap over Helium, although Helium did pit quite a bit earlier than them, so he's on a little bit older soft tires, so those medium tires will now be coming into their own. So I think it's going to be a straight up battle between Moto and Mara to see who picks up the win today. Envy as well in with a good chance, but he'll have to make that last stint really count on those soft tires if he's going to, need a late salvo on the grid, if you will. Uh, yeah, it's really, really not over until it's over, especially when there is a number of strategies going on, and obviously any incident could completely change that. As Dawn comes into the pit again, I believe that is the end of the stint on the second set of soft tires. He will pit for a set of mediums, which will take him all the way to the end of the race.
I feel like he's the only driver who's following the strategy by the book, at least according to Jeff. And
Yeah.
we see another battle between Panat and Vilsaji. Massive difference in the tire compound and the age. Let's see if Panat can defend. It'll
Banat
be
will
very
try.
impressive if he could, because he doesn't have the same advantage as Wilson, as he gets an insane exit compared to him.
Wilson didn't even need the DRS there.
It's just a icing on the top. And strategy wise, Helium has gone to pit, and right around this time Panat made the move, so good move, but sorry, Vilsaji rather, and he'll be trying to catch up to Kapil, but I think it may be a bit too long for that.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a long shot. Simply is also reaching the end of his tires. I believe that's also his second stint on the soft tires. He'll be reaching the end of tire life on that. Helium goes up the inside of Aradhya Gupta. That was a pretty straightforward move. They're on fairly new tires, but the softs are massively faster than the mediums during this phase of the race. So good overtake there from Helium. He'll now have to push almost every single lap. I mean, if you're going for the two-stop, you're pretty much pushing almost every lap anyway. So he'll have to really, really get those afterburners on if he's going to close the gap on the drivers ahead. Those medium tires in those last couple of laps will be screaming for agony. Couple maybe not, because he left it so late on the soft tires. Envy comes into the pits after a second stint on the medium tires. He will now pit for a fresh set of softs, and he will now be on the attack as well. We'll have to see where he comes out relative to Helium, because they're currently the only two drivers on similar strategies on new set of softs, and yeah, he does come out behind Helium, so he also has his work cut out for him.
We have a
it
quick look
seems
at
to
the
be
penalties. I think only the front runners are pending for pits, but that's really interesting. Mostly they are even, so towards the back half you can basically ignore all the penalties, but Harry with 12 seconds may be a bit of a challenge for him. Let's see if he can. He has to pit also, I think. Let's see if he can claw back up, make up for that gap.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Harry. He's going to find himself tumbling down the grid after the checkered flag falls because of those 12 seconds of penalties. Might not affect him greatly when compared to those guys carrying 6 seconds of penalties, but it will affect him quite badly when compared to the guys who have 3 seconds. As Mara makes an extra stop. Interesting.
I think both were going for 2 stops, but I think Amara has gone for undercut. Let's see. He should be switching back to softs. We can go back to tire view.
He has gone to softs. Yep.
Yeah, so that's the last stop for him. I think he has pitted earlier because he wasn't able to claw back the gap he had with Moto.
Interesting to see how Moto will respond to this, because he is on the one stop. But I still think that he's committed to the one stop, but I don't think he'll be able to take those mediums for that long.
He was if you pit any earlier than lap 11, it's definitely a 2-stopper. And yeah, he's.
You mean any late? Wait, earlier than lap 11, it's a two-stop, but Moto went nearly 14 laps on the soft.
If you go any longer than lap 11 for a 2-stopper, then you'll just be wasting time, losing time, a lot of time. Makes sense considering that both of them pitted laps 10 and 11. So yeah, see, and as I said, Moto's pitting. There we go.
Okay. It's going to be interesting to see where Kapil comes out, having pushed those soft tires to the absolute limit during that first stint. I think he will come out net E1 after the second stint. So great race by Kapil right now. He's really done well on that opening stint on the soft, managed them perfectly. And there he goes, coming across the line. That will be Kapil. Oh, and Wilster is getting cheeky as well on those soft tires. He's not giving Kapil an easy time as he overtakes him. That will actually help out Moto quite massively because he's now right on the back, on the tail end of this little battle here, and Mara is going to be quite close by as well. So we've got an interesting little battle here for these final few laps of the race. Wilster has to manage his
Definitely
tires.
helped.
Yeah, Wilster has to manage those soft tires. Kapil will not be as fast on those guys behind him on the mediums, and it's going to be a straight up shootout between Moto and Mara, I feel. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so luck sometimes play a role, even if you are very fast on the grid. And I think this decision to pit earlier has definitely helped Mara, as Wilster has severe damage. I think he flew too close to the sun, and I think he lost it. And unfortunate for him. But what all of this placement of cars has done for Mara was to drop him in the middle of a DRS straight. And
Mara and Moto,
when
both of
Moto
them,
went back,
both of them picked the penalties just now.
Mara is on 6 seconds now, Moto's on 3, so this will help out Kapil as well. It's
6 seconds. So yeah, definitely. Part of me would like to see Kapil make the most of this, but he's sandwiched right now, so that DRS advantage better helps him. But yeah, let's see if he can keep it clean also. But yeah, Mara would definitely want to push, and you can definitely see him going aggressive with it. Kapil being the wiser, he knows that he has the time to play with. So I think he's deciding to stay on the back, while Mara burning through all the ERS, trying to catch up back to Moto, and maybe give it a couple more goes as we are in the final few laps of the race.
If I were to borrow a term from our friends over at Formula E, Mara is in attack mode right now. He's on full attack. He's burning off ERS. He's using DRS wherever he can. His aim at this point is purely set on Moto. He wants to catch Moto, and more importantly, he wants to get a 3-second advantage on Moto, because that will be the only way in which he can retain P2 in this race, because at this rate, Mara will drop to P3, Kapil will move to P1. Kapil just playing the patient game, not being too fussed right now. He's in a good position. All he has to do is make sure he doesn't drop too far back, because then the penalties that they carry won't have much of an effect on the final race result. But Mara right now is on full attack mode. On that last lap, a second and a half faster in sector 1, I believe. So really great driving there from the 5-time champion. And right now his aim is, as I said, firmly set on the Haas in P1.
Maranello could use some fan boost right about now, as Moto had just set the fastest lap while we were talking. So it will be definitely a mountain to climb, and I see that all the drivers in the top 3 are not in DRS. So definitely now they have to keep it up at their own merit. I'll be interested to see what Kapil is able to do, because as on old mediums, he could really benefit from the DRS. But Maranello is a hard driver to catch up with. So let's see how that happens. And Envy is lining up, I think, in a lap or two, a move against Helium. And overall, what do you think his strategy to pit sooner? Do you think it helped out for him? Because in the end, he's around the same position he started with. So do you think this decision to go undercut kind of paid off for him?
It may not have paid off as much, but it's still proven to be pretty useful for him. So in these latter couple of laps, the latter stages of the race, only time will tell whether it really pays off, but he's in strong position right now.
Yeah, let's see how he delivers. I think now we should move to penalties again in the thermometer.
Don has no wing, as Thermo said earlier. He's flown too close to the sun and has had his wings clipped, and he now finds himself okay. So Dan, one thing that you can take away from this potentially is that Black Sheep might not be last, but that is not a very high bar.
that you're just adding salt to my wounds now.
To be fair,
Ah,
the one good thing about all of this is everyone who finishes today will get a point. So that's something.
woohoo! Time for celebration, boys.
As a midfield driver, I'll take it any day of the week and kind of appreciate the new point system. I know it's more or less cosmetic at this point, as Envy is trying to overtake Helium. I think he'll have to wait for the next one, unless he tries from the outside, and Helium will have none of it. And they bang a little bit. I think Envy tried to turn a bit aggressively. Both have slowed down a bit, so they can go for another try, I think, in the next lap. We don't have the telemetry for either drivers, or either the UI has crashed, but I don't see much damage in either cars, fortunately.
Yep. I don't think they picked up much damage. I think at this point they're not going to be bidding for a wing anyway, even if it does, like, they lose a little bit of an end plate. And yeah, the telemetry is just popped back up for us, and there is no damage for either of their wings. So I think it was just a little bit of a wheel banging. Maybe, we get sometimes in F1 you get that damage, which it doesn't show up as damage, but it's still costing you a bit of time. Maybe that kind of damage, the one that doesn't affect you too much. But at this point, Envy's not to make a Ferrari pun, but he's going to be seeing red. He will just want to get past Helium because he had a good move lined up, and unfortunately it didn't work out for the Ferrari driver.
Speaking of the drivers, Maranello seems to be dropping back a little. Doesn't seem to be panning out for him just yet. So it will be interesting to see. At least he's keeping gap between Kapil, as SD is defending. Actually, Envy makes a move on SD and makes it stick. And Aradhya may want to make the most of this, but I think he does not have DRS, unfortunately.
I think he is on slightly better tires, so he might have an advantage going into Sector 3 if the dirty air doesn't mess him over too much. Yep, those soft tires will now be starting to lose a little bit of their fastness for SD, and Aradhya is on a set of mediums which are right up to temperature. So this could be an interesting battle. Going down the main straight could be Aradhya's next best chance, and yes, he is within DRS now. So the chance will definitely open up for him. And yeah, as you said, Mara has dropped back. He's dropping back a little bit more actually. 3.3 seconds now separating him from Moto. I think he may have pushed a little bit too hard in those opening couple of laps on the soft tires, and they've dropped off a little bit faster than maybe he himself would have expected. And now his aim will just be to get to the end of the race, because if he's put too much wear on those tires too early, then he risks losing time to Kapil, who unfortunately is 7.5 seconds away. So he will have to settle for P3 as it currently stands. But Moto, as it stands, will pick up his first win this season after getting close on so many occasions. I'm not going to give him the commentators first. Yep, not going to jinx him just yet. Held myself back there. Only time will tell where everyone finishes. But the order seems to be pretty sorted, at least in the top 5. Envy and Helium really the only battle going on there, and also Aradhya versus SD right behind them. But apart from those two battles, everyone seems to have distanced themselves.
Yeah, SD was one of our favorites going into this race, unfortunately, and I'm not quite sure we captured what caused him to drop off a little in the grid, but he's keeping it clean. For now, it's not really advantaging him at all, but hopefully he can claw back the gap, or maybe put some pressure on the 4th and 5th, and let's see if he can capitalize on that, as he can easily jump to positions if these two mess up somewhere. As we see Envy lining up another move and makes it stick very easily. Both have similar tires, so I think the DRS rate is giving the advantage as you do. Let's see if we see a slight lose of grip for Helium. He's been also pushing a lot as he has burned through the ERS. It may be a bit tricky for him to do the same as Envy did to him.
I think
But
SD will be secretly hoping that these two guys get into a battle and go side by side for 5 or 6 corners, because that's the only way that he's gonna lose any kind of time, or he's gonna gain any kind of time to these guys, because they are absolutely flying right now, putting on really good lap times. But more importantly, they're just feeding off each other's DRS. So one lap, Helium gets the DRS. The next lap, Envy gets the DRS. So they're both kind of DRSing their way away from SD right now, which won't be helping the Williams driver at all. And it's not looking good for him. But fortunately, it is what it is. I think it might just go from bad to worse for SD, as he's currently being hunted down by Aradhya Gupta. But he won't be too flustered, because Aradhya is carrying 9 seconds of penalties, which will not be helping the McLaren driver's case, and it will leave him net P7 after the penalties are paid, because Banat has 3 seconds. I'm looking at some of these drivers. I think, okay, Black Sheep, I was going to say, is in a good position to move up because of penalties, but unfortunately, he is quite far back behind the field to really capitalize on that. But
very unfortunate, as he just picked up a penalty. He was clawing back time from Helium, who has dropped off now from the battle with Envy. He could have easily caught up and inside that 3-second window, but he finally got a penalty. Very unfortunate for him. Still, he can easily finish in P6 from the looks of it, but very unfortunate indeed. Kapil also on the same note, far off the 6-second time window that both of the front two drivers have. So he can still secure a podium at least, but unfortunately no last to first for him today.
Moto picked up another 3 seconds while we were talking there to bring him up to 6 seconds. So not really much separating him and Mara right now. Mara will secretly be kicking himself, because he pushed a little too much, little too early, I'd say, on that final stint on the softs. Maybe burned them off a bit too much for his own liking, and now he's paying the price, because he's 6 seconds clear. Had there been a small chance for him to overtake Moto, the fact that they're both on 6 seconds right now would have been a nice level playing field for them. As Aradhya tries to make a move around the outside, SD won't be letting that happen, but he'll have the inside line going into turn 2, but again it's to the outside line going into turn 3. So he'll...
But I think he's just much faster thanks to DRS, and he just wants it on the track for his own satisfaction. But SD giving him a good old hard time. Hopefully he doesn't get any collateral damage along the way. Looks all good. Both drivers are obviously in Tier 1, so they have given each other enough space through the... as we see Moto going through the final few corners, there should be some colors flowing out through that stadium section, but he has finished as first, his first race this season as a front driver, as you have mentioned. Mara second. Probably he wanted a lot from that, but at least he's having to work for it. And Kapil, starting from the back, made it to the podium. Amazing performance, very impressive. As we see Envy, Helium, SD crossing the line in the same order, and I think that will be the case for the most part, except for Harry. He's still in the sandwiched.
What's happening there? There was a big traffic jam going through the stadium section, as everyone was just getting a little bit nose to tail there. It just kind of seemed like a massive train trying to snake its way through the stadium section. Probably a couple of blue flag cars in there as well, but still it was a very odd sight to see that many cars just very obediently going end to end. Almost like a train.
It's a formation lap, and I won't be surprised. And as we see the final driver, Ashray, going across the line.
12 seconds of penalties, but it won't really matter much because he will hold his position. Great drive there from Moto, really held his nerve against the drivers behind him and has managed to pick up his first win of the season. One that has eluded him for quite a while now, so he'll be hoping to put all the bad vibes aside and carry forward strong momentum into the season. Haas picks up their first win of the season with Moto, as well as his first win for him this season as well. A great drive from him, making the two-stop payoff. Mara also putting on a great performance. Did initially take the lead in the first stint, but manages to round off the top two. Kapil also, a great drive from him, driver of the day as given by the game, and I think we'll have to agree with him there as well, because going from P15 pretty much P last to P3 on the podium is pretty damn good.
He pulled off another Kapil.
Yeah,
Again,
couple doing
couple
couple
strikes again.
things.
And I let others in chat also write their favorite driver from today's race in the chat.
Damn, we'll have a look at that a little later as well. We'll see who's gotten the vote from the public as to who got the driver of the day vote. I believe good weekend for Ferrari as well in terms of points. So the Ferrari boys will be happy with that. P2 and P4 will be strong points in the constructors. Not a great weekend in the constructors for Williams or Alpha or Haas. So well, Haas obviously get good strong points from Moto, but Banat unfortunately was quite far down the field. But yeah, those are your final standings. Helium also put on a good drive to finish P5, starting P10. But apart from that, everyone else will feel like they could have extracted a little bit more from this race. Black Sheep, especially, who finds himself a lap down and pretty much down and out from the race. As we can move to the podium interview, as we have got some of our drivers here. I believe Moto and Mara are currently here, so we can get started with them. Yeah, great job again to both of you. I think couple will join us in a little while, but I think we'll get started off with Moto. Great drive from you, man. Your first win of the season. I think we can officially say bad juju has been disposed.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to make more fuel jokes as well, because that obviously propels me. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I got a bit nervy towards when Mara undercut me, but well, when I thought he would undercut me, but yeah, but it was a good battle at the start. Good fair battle, and his turn one was really well done. Like he completely parked his car on the apex, which is like a brilliant defensive move. But yeah, great race, but kind of boring. But yeah, I'm happy with that.
I think considering how we just did a massive endurance race yesterday on a completely different platform, I think you'll have to take the P1 today. I think you can take it with open arms.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Great race. One question that I do have for you though was the two stop always the plan, or was the one stop still a possibility at any
No,
point?
it was always the two stop, one stop out of the window, not a chance.
All right then.
Whoever suggested me that strategy is an idiot, but yeah.
Couple would like to say otherwise, but at least I'll end up in the podium at least. But yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, good race from Mara as well. The good battle at the start was nice. Yeah.
Yep, have to agree there.
Great job, Moto, on your first win of the season. First win for Haas as well. Congratulations again. We will move to Mara, who'll feel a little bit hard done by, but maybe a good result in the end. What do you think?
I think winning is always the target. But it was clear my target for today going into the race was definitely P2. I did know Moto had quite a bit of pace, but I made a crucial error in setup, so I ran maximum front tire pressures. So, and I forgot to change that from quali. And I wait that was such a shitty move considering like the soft tires really die out by sector 3. So every time I went into sector 3 I was losing 2/10 or something and I had to like burn my ERS to claw back. So yeah, I think this is a maxed out result for me. I'm pretty happy with today. And great job. I think I did try and do something funny with the undercut or the overcut, but yeah, Moto had me covered all from all directions.
We saw towards the end of that second, the final soft stint, you were closing up quite fast, and then suddenly you started to drop off just a little bit. Was that the case of just pushing a little bit too hard too early in the stint?
Yeah, I think I was having to lift and coast quite a bit to keep my front tire temps down, which I didn't do in the third stint. Like, what's the point? Because I was pretty much in no man's land over there. I did know I had P2 secure, so I sort of just put guns metal, pushed a little bit, and then, yeah, I think it didn't matter because once the tires died out, there was just no point. So I wanted to just drive safely, prevent further penalties, and bring the car home. Because I was definitely confident about the 6 seconds to couple, but I didn't want to pick up 9 seconds and make it vulnerable.
Well, considering what did elapse during the race, great race from you, P2 in the end. I think you'll be happy. And Ferrari, great
And
points for you guys.
congratulations for a great race. It's moto racing today.
Yep, it is moto racing. We went moto racing today. Yeah, great job from you, man. Great job. As we move to Kapil, yeah, done.
I was just about to say that he was probably thinking of this line during the race, just as he was about to finish it.
You are not wrong.
Mara has been waiting 36 laps just to say that line to us in the podium
Oh, I
interview.
mean, definitely not 36 laps. I mean, obviously he was trying to win it, but yeah, the last few laps maybe.
I think
Okay.
after the first stint, I was thinking about it. So it took me about 26 laps, maybe if not 36.
That early.
Yeah.
Very great race, man. Great race again from you. And we move on to the final podium position, which is Kapil, who once again put on a characteristic drive going from last to first. Although my first question immediately was, were you actually purple in the first two sectors on that final run in qualifying, or was that the AI playing tricks on us?
Definitely the AI playing tricks. I was never in contention for a P1 lap.
Oh,
Did you bring the car out, or you retired and the AI took it out somehow?
No. I did go out. So, as this is a common theme with me every single race, my dinner gets ready exactly at 8 o'clock. So every time you don't see me out on quali, I'm actually sitting and eating and watching everyone do quali. So this time it ran particularly longer because the food was too yummy and I had to savor it. So I only had one run at the end, and I think I invalidated turn three itself. So that was that. So yeah, then you know what? Let's give the people a show in T1, and I think I did.
so what all this time we believed to be doing a couple was just you eating dinner. Okay. That's quite a large fall from grace
Is
for
that
the
why you always
strategy.
get such beastly starts, mate?
Yeah,
I,
he's got
I,
extra downforce at the beginning.
I guess you could say that he was carrying a little extra fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. Always carry some extra fuel.
Fuel for the right foot to work. But yeah, you pulled off that one stop really well. We were super impressed with your tire management on the softs. And I think you were the only driver who pulled off the one stop today, and it worked out to perfection. And maybe if you had a little bit more pace towards the end, or maybe if the guys ahead of you had a couple more penalties, I would never wish that. But had it happened, you would have been a little bit further up today. But I think you'll be happy with the P3.
Now actually looking back, I shouldn't have done it. So the reason I went for the one stop was at that point in the race, lap 16, 15, when it was like, hey, I got a lot of position. I'm comfortably in the lead. I know I wasn't able to get it. Not going to be able to keep it. But my issue or the concern that I had was there's no way I'm going to catch the two of them. They were 5.5 seconds ahead of me after I cleared the entire field, and I thought, let's bank on the rest of the grid having some issue or just a safety car coming out. That's why I went long, and I went extremely long. Maybe 2 laps over on the soft. It literally died out. I think it was like 87% when I walked in, just hoping for a safety car. That didn't happen. Second stint, similar story. I don't know. I'm sure Moto would know this. Like Bilster died right in front of us, and there was still no safety car. I was like, come on. That was really unfortunate there, but yeah, I think third was all I could hope for. But now looking back at it, with a two stop, I could have had that P2 or even P1 with those penalties. These two racked up. Unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately, that risk didn't pay off. I did notice before the end of your first stint, you had dropped off a couple seconds towards the last couple laps. So you could have really appreciated having those towards the end. And yeah, about the safety car, it is strange. Even in Tier 3 race, a driver was crashed out, and his crashed car was in the middle of the track between the S's, and there was no safety car. And we had to actually dodge the car for a while, actually, and there was no action at all. So
putting a,
the
putting a
game can be
whole
strange at times like that.
putting a whole new spin on the phrase "moving chicane."
Yep.
Well,
So
anyway,
still great performance overall. You always farming those driver of the days from Jeff. So fair dues.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be it for the podium interview. Once again, congratulations to all three drivers, Moto, Mara, and Couple, your top three for today. Great driving, gentlemen. Always put on a show as normal. But that's going to be it for round 7. This has been a fantastic race to look forward to for us. We are past the break week, of course. So next weekend, I believe it's Hungary next weekend. So one of my favorite tracks actually. So that'll be a fun one to look forward to as well. We look forward to having you guys as well. Thank you very much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you liked what you saw today. All our socials are available on your screen. Thermo, Dan, any final closing comments for the stream?
I'd just like to say good night and wish everyone else a good week.
You aren't watching the race?
Oh yes, of course, I am. We all are. What about it?
I'm sure. Just
Yes, tune in for the real life race where, apart from the fireworks that may happen, there may be a much larger one. No,
Inshallah.
we'll have to wait and watch. So